Welcome to The Entrepreneur in You, the podcast that unlocks the secrets to success in the trying world of being a busy entrepreneur. I'm your host, Troy Cummings, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey with you as we dive deep into the minds of industry experts who have achieved remarkable success in their respective fields. Welcome to The Entrepreneur in You, where we help entrepreneurs learn, earn, and grow their business. Today's guest is Cory Bosemer, who hails from the south end of Louisville, Kentucky, and has overcome a lot of challenges in his life that include mental and physical challenges. However, because of Cory's determination to be successful, he is quickly becoming the go-to person for everything football in the state of Kentucky. You can follow Cory on his successful podcast, Conversations with Cory, where he interviews many sports figures and talks everything football. So without further ado, let's welcome Cory Bosemer to The Entrepreneur in You. Hey, welcome, Cory.
How you doing, Mr. Troy? How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Glad to have you on the show today. It's probably a little bit more different to our listeners. Normally we're covering, we cover a lot of different topics, but I'm excited to cover football. Actually, my son is playing third grade tackle football, and he's finally in pads this year, and I'm helping coach. So it's definitely been exciting to see him grow and just work with the young kids and watch them prosper and just work their little tails off. Because
where'd you go to school at?
He's at Our Lady of Lourdes now. So and basically it's St. Matthew's Catholic. There's 4 schools that come together to form one team. So from the time we started till now, the kids are really improving. So it's exciting to see them to grow and succeed.
It is good.
So we've known each other for some time, and I know your love for football really shows on all your social media platforms. What moment or experience drove you to take the leap into covering football in Kentucky?
To be honest with you, man, it's whenever I started coaching youth football in the city of Louisville. I kind of got rubbed the wrong way. I got kind of relieved of my coaching duties in a way that I shouldn't have been. And then I said, let me start something. So I started a private page. I got up to like 900,000 followers in probably half a year. And I didn't like the way that people are telling me to do things. So I said, screw it, I'm going to start over from scratch. And then I started a public page up almost 5 years ago. And, that's it. At the end of the day, I grew up around football. My father's played with Chris Dishman from DeSales. My uncle played with Hall of Famer Bubba Parrish from DeSales. I played against Brom in middle school, and I've won a championship as coach and I won a championship as a player. I've been around the sport all my life. So I told myself that one day, I said, to hell with it, why not? And that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So let's talk about football in Kentucky. I mean, are you seeing any challenges in football in Kentucky right now? Maybe like the number of players coming out or getting qualified refs, et cetera, or maybe even some rule changes on the grade school level up to the college ranks. Is there anything that's kind of big talk right now?
Well, for me personally, two changes I see is the overall lack of parent involvement in the student athlete on a personal level, on the field and off the field, and the lack of quality referees. Now, being a referee is a thankless job, just like being a school bus driver. Unfortunately in life, being in a position of like a bus driver or a referee, it's like a bag of apples. All it takes is one to ruin the whole bag. And that's kind of how it is with referees. It's unfortunate.
And what maybe do you think about the parent involvement? I mean, do you think it's just, and when you say that, is it just they're not involved at all, or is it more like, hey, they just want to come drop off the kid and then come back in an hour and a half and pick them up?
I think it's both of your points that you just mentioned, Troy. In my personal experiences at the youth level, and it's probably still goes on in high school and college and everything, parents treat the organizations and coaches like babysitters and daycares.
Hmm.
And that's not the case. It's more unfair to the child when a parent treats the organization and the coaches like that than it is the actual coach and organization themselves. It does a disservice to the child more than anything.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we're even seeing in certain areas of town, and obviously in the Catholic schools that you know there are 3 or 4 schools that are having to come together, and it just seems like football. Um, Everyone still loves football, right?
Oh yeah.
It's the American sport, but it just seems like attendance wise has started to wane, and I don't know if that's something that will continue to go down that route. It's just really hard to say, but obviously I don't want it to, because um, us being involved in football, I mean, you see how much joy it brings to the kids,
Yeah.
and how much joy it can really bring to the parents if they will just be willing to commit to things. And I think as a parent, it's sort of like when I go into new conference rooms, or I go into a room with people I don't know, or someone invites me to something. The first time you're always going to be timid, and you're not really maybe going to know everything, and that's fine. That's just how we are as human beings. But if you really put yourself out there and you get into the room, and just like with football or getting involved in coaching, whether you're a parent that does something for the team, not even coaching, whether it's getting snacks or asking the coach after practice how he did things, that you feel more involved. And anytime you get more involved in something, you get more out of it long term. So if there are parents out there that are listeners, I urge them to, hey, just because you're not a coach doesn't mean you can't get involved. There's a lot of things you can do as a parent to get involved, and I promise, long term, it's going to pay you dividends as a parent and as your relationship with your child.
Well, to piggyback off what you said, Troy, part of the issue is parents thinking children don't pay attention to certain things. Kids pay attention to everything. And kids are so smart this day and age. Like my 5-year-old's known how to operate an iPhone and computer since she was less than 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And she's getting ready to be 6 in November. And I say that because kids pay attention to everything. Kids pay attention to when their parents specifically do things that normally they shouldn't or wouldn't have to. Kids pay attention to everything. And when kids see their parents not do what they should, how do you think your kid's going to react in life when they get older?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Well, I know we talked about maybe some challenges, so let's kind of switch direction. Is there anything off the cuff, and you may not have anything that you can think of right now, but are there any big wins for football in Kentucky? Maybe even like some new donors, new fields, complexes around the state, or really just anything?
Wins right off the bat, I can say alma mater DeSales finally got a win for the first time in a couple of seasons. They went through some uncertainties, but they finally that's a big win to finally get over that hump of being winless. As far as fields go, JCPS, Jefferson County Public Schools, is doing, I think it's like 3 to 5 year tier plan where a good portion of schools are getting all new athletic facilities, or at
Wow.
least new athletic field. I know Bullitt County just gave North Bullitt, Bullitt Central, and Bullitt East new bleachers, new press boxes,
Wow.
new fields, new track, and Ross, I know for a fact, just renovated a bunch of bleachers, press box seats, and track and field also at their place.
Yeah, that's great. I actually went to I went to the DeSales North Oldham football game a few well, I guess it's been a few weeks ago now. I mean, it was like 95 degrees outside. And I'm sitting up there in the stands and I'm sweating like no other. And I'm like, gosh, I'm in the stands just sitting here sweating. And I know these kids out on the field, and then they're just out there giving it their all. And like, to me, that's like, man, that's to me what sports does. It just shows you that grit and determination. And you can use that so much later in life when things start to knock you down, when you have that sports background. And I went actually last night to the DeSales soccer game. They were playing Covington Catholic, and I have a few nephews that play soccer for DeSales. And I was walking out of there, and I could see families talking and people hanging out. I think that's another thing really football does for the community, or football, or really any sports, excuse me, it's just, it brings people together.
Yep.
And then it brings a sense of pride to their community. And even if you lose, you know, that's okay because people are there to support each other. I mean, obviously we all want to win, but just to know that there are people that, hey, I'm going to stick beside you even in the hard times, even when you're losing. I think that
Yep.
says so much about a community and the people around them. So, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up.
Other, another thing too, there is such a thing as a good loss.
Hmm. Hmm.
I believe, and the reason I say that is because if you learn, is that really a loss?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, 100%. Because the best teachers, that mistake you make for sure. And we see that. I see that every day in my business for sure.
I can only imagine.
What are your goals long term with your podcast and your social media following? What are you really hoping the audience experiences just around your football postings?
To be honest with you, man, this might sound a little cliche, but I just hope they experience my truthfulness and honesty and my thoughtfulness
Hmm.
in any and everything that I've done up to this point and any and everything that I continue to do and will do. Because a lot of this, like you factor, I did I did a look through on something on one of my files on my iPhone, and I think I lost count at between like 150, 200 something student questionnaires that I've done in 5 years, and that's me taking the time, reaching out, finding players, finding coaches, texting, communicating, editing, doing all that. I've
Hmm.
never been paid for any of that. I do it. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you got to look at how many times I've put people out there and they've gotten exposure for free.
sure. A lot of
You,
grassroots.
you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
just hope that people, in the end, notice my me being honest and my thoughtfulness and truthfulness throughout the whole entire thing.
And if someone was thinking about following in your footsteps, possibly covering another sport, for instance, whether it's volleyball, basketball, or really any sport, what words of advice would you give that person? Maybe even something of, how to approach the institution about being on the sidelines, et cetera. Maybe you could tell us more about that.
Uh, be honest with yourself before you can be honest with others. You
Mhm.
know, that's one thing I struggled with when I first started, but then I quickly realized in order for people to believe you, you have to believe yourself.
Mhm.
And once I started being honest with myself and my process of everything, I started quickly realizing other people started to believe in my work.
Sure.
Um, case in point, I
Absolutely.
had a conversation with God, I want to say in February, and it was before I went out and partied on Super Bowl, and we just had a conversation, and I was a man of my word in that conversation. And then flash forward to the next month, I go to the NFL draft combine, and then flash forward the next month after that, I take a direct flight to Kansas City to do media coverage at the 2023 NFL draft.
Wow. That's awesome.
All because I was a man of my word. I believed in myself, and in return, you get what I'm saying. The reciprocation was received.
Absolutely. No, and that's great that you say that because everybody has their own form of an outlet. Like you, I mean, I use God a lot, but whatever that is, you have to find that internal belief because as you start to believe in yourself and what you're doing and have that integrity, um, it, all the nerves and things that maybe come with those opportunities that they go away because right? It's
For
just
sure.
when you be yourself, it is what it is, and take it or leave it.
Definitely 100%.
Now, I'm going to change directions a little bit. I always try to
That's cool.
add value for our entrepreneurs listening, but I always like to ask our guests on the show: is there a particular piece of technology you use that maybe makes your job easier? Like, do you really use a video editing on your phone or any kind of audio equipment? Maybe a particular AI tool or something like that you use?
To be honest with you, Troy, no, I
Yeah.
use, it's not that I don't use stuff, but I don't use some individuals out there use like super high tech stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I'm a firm believer.
I know I've seen you
Go
at a
ahead.
game with like a high, I mean, it seemed like it was like a high power camera, that
No,
you
yeah,
had.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I
So
mean, you have
that's
some
okay.
pretty
Yeah,
nice equipment.
that's when I do photography or I take pictures. Now
Okay.
I still take pictures, but I more so do video content now. But I
Hmm.
always take my camera everywhere that I go for sure. Now, as far as the audio goes, I've always edited my own audio, and that's for two reasons: one, to save money, and for two, to learn.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
the best way to learn is self-taught, and
Yeah. Just
I've taught
tinker.
my
Yeah.
I've taught myself, and I just use an app on my phone, and it does all the work. I mean, I got to do the work, but it edits everything when it comes to the audio side. As far as
Mhm.
AI stuff, the only type of AI stuff that I do or use is on this app called CapCut that most people know, or an app
Yeah.
called Captions, where
Hmm.
they take the audio and then they create letters sub or I
Oh,
guess it would be
capture.
subtitles or
Yes.
something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Capture. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Those are
Uh,
very good tools.
Other than that, though, man, I just
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Keep it simple for sure. Um, maybe tell us also about some recent successes you've had. I think recently you were on the ESPN radio show, I think before one of the
Yeah.
Louisville games. Yeah. How did that go?
So it went good. So the process of that, this is actually my second year of being a part of the ESPN Radio 24-hour kickoff show. You know
Okay.
me, I've had ADD and ADHD my whole life, so I get overly excited about some
Yeah.
stuff that
Mhm.
a person that doesn't have either one of those things or whatever, however you want to classify those two type of things, I react more happily than most people. So
Mhm.
the first year, last year, I try to tell somebody that they're like, "Oh, that's not that big a deal." They do it every year, and I'm just like, "All
Yeah.
right." But like in all actuality, and another way that I look at that, Troy, is some people that try media is a hell of a hard thing to crack.
Mhm.
One thing I've learned too is like some people here in the state have worked for years and years to try to get on local radio, let alone local ESPN radio. I've
Mhm.
done it twice. This year I did it with a former player and two other individuals, so it was me and three other people.
Mhm.
And that was it. Last year I was on the 2 to 3 a.m. time slot. This year I got bumped up to 3 a.m., 3 to 4 a.m. time slot. And in all actuality, there's really only other one more time slot that I could get, which would be 4 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So to be able to do it 2 years in a row is an improvement, and it says good thanks to my hard work and dedication to my craft. And
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's good for even entrepreneurs or people listening is that everyone has to crawl before they walk, and a
100%.
lot of times we see maybe they see you and see the ESPN 680, I believe it was ESPN 680, right?
Yep.
They see that logo or that icon and they think, man, how'd he get on there? Like that's gosh, like he's so lucky, but no one saw all yeah, no one saw all the things that you did prior to that. And it's that slow climb up that hill, but
Yep.
I think it's good to tell other maybe entrepreneurs or people who are starting or even young people that it just takes time, unfortunately, to be great or to get those high level of accomplishments. So no, that's great. So I'm glad to hear that, and maybe even next year, pretty soon you'll be having your own ESPN 680 show.
Never
Yeah.
know.
Okay. There we go. All right. I'll move on. We don't want to let the cat out of the bag, maybe.
You
So
never know.
yeah. Is there a particular podcast or guest you've interviewed that and you may not know of any off the top of your head, or maybe a particular guest on your show that's compelled you to be great that maybe some of our listeners would enjoy listening to, one particular show or podcast?
Yeah, so as far as guests that I've interviewed personally, and that's another thing that I ain't got to say or touch on yet. Another thing that lets me know I'm doing stuff the right way is I've interviewed the sports agent for Patrick Mahomes, Lee Steinberg. Lee is a person that the movie Jerry Maguire was loosely based off of.
Okay.
So for an individual like the agent of Patrick Mahomes, Troy Aikman, and the list goes on for the people that he represents, says yes to me, I got to be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
I've interviewed. You remember that football show on Netflix called Last Chance U?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I watched. Yep. Yep.
I've interviewed Jason Brown. I interviewed him back in April. And then I've also, I think it was back in like May, back in May or June, I interviewed Amy Lawrence from CBS Sports Radio.
Okay.
She's the only woman, I think, as of now, still to this day, to have her own radio show Monday through Friday on national syndicated radio.
Wow. Wow.
So again, for me to interview her, I got to be doing something right.
Absolutely. And for our guests, for people listening, you may not be able to see, but here is Cory's YouTube page, Conversations with Cory. So, and actually we'll provide some links as well, but looks like Cory has a link space here where you can go and follow him on many platforms, whatever your preferred platform is. We can provide that in the comments or the descriptions. Definitely go follow him on Facebook. That's Football of Kentucky DBA. And also, a lot of people are familiar with YouTube, so I always recommend getting on there and checking out some of Cory's videos, and then Twitter. So again, his link space will have a lot of different links that you'll be able to access and see all of his different platforms.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No. One thing on the YouTube is like, I don't really focus on the numbers as much on YouTube as I do other places, mainly because I just use YouTube for content purposes. Like, you can't really, one thing I do know is like the numbers will eventually come. If you focus on the numbers too much when you first started this, you'll never be successful.
Sure.
Like, you got to backtrack to when I first started. 0 followers, 0 likes. Now I'm over 21,000 and close to 18,000 total likes, something like that. I don't know. It takes time, man.
I gotta show this this play here. I'm gonna have to critique your post a little, and it's more out of
grammar.
Well, no, not grammar. You had said here on the post in this rivalry game here, you mentioned the quarterback Brady Atwell scored the touchdown. He did not score that touchdown. Look at this number. I don't know who the gentleman is. The number 9 right here. It looks like he was I don't know if he was a fullback or tailback, but did you see that? He just lifts him up. Look at that.
Listen, I was told it was a quarterback. I was told by a person.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. The quarterback scored a touchdown, but he didn't score the touchdown, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, look at that.
Okay, yeah. I get what you're saying. I was like, come on, I get it.
No, I mean, I just love that. That is just, he picks him up from that and carries.
Oh, yeah, I do see that. Yeah, pretty much throws him over the line.
I mean, God. I love that effort. And I think going back to our comments about football, it's just having that grit and tenacity to succeed and to win. I won't say who, but it was somebody that's like close to me, and they play high school sports, and they work really hard. They just put in all the time they have forever, and they're not getting playing time, and they're athletic and they do what they're supposed to do, just for whatever reason. Whether it's just their size or some of us just aren't blessed with certain physical abilities, but obviously they're still way more athletic than I ever was, but just for whatever reasons, the cards don't fall their way. But what I told them is that, um, you putting in that time and effort and just not quitting, because a lot of kids say, well, I didn't get any playing time, or I didn't like the coach and all that, and they want to quit. But this person, that word has never came up, and they never stop, and they're still playing now, and they're going to finish it till their senior year. But I just love that. And what I told them in the text was like, look, a lot of people that have maybe had that extra ability that you don't have, that have always been the best player, when maybe, I'm not saying all cases, but maybe when they hit that roadblock later in life and they haven't had to work as hard as you, they may not know how to handle those hard times, right?
Right.
But you, and having to put in all that tenacity and extra grit and just doing the things that other people aren't willing to do, when you hit those roadblocks later in life, you're going to do it with ease. And the other people are gonna lay down, possibly because they haven't had to work as hard as you, and you're gonna think it's a walk in the park. So I always try to remind people, especially young people, that hey, just keep pushing. Even though you may not be the star player, it's gonna pay you dividends later in life when you hit other roadblocks.
I mean, it's like I talk to kids 24/7. Especially on Twitter. DMs are always open, and I have no problem giving truthful, straight to the point advice and conversations to children that actually need it. I have no problem taking time out of my busy day, all day, every day, to talk to kids. The main thing that I say to every single adult and child that I interact with every day is, if you quit now, you'll quit when you shouldn't. If you quit now, you'll quit later on in life. Worst thing to do when you're young is quit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell my kids all the time, and we've maybe, you may see it on social, but I just love it. It's one of my favorite quotes. What's worse than failure is regret. And I feel like
True.
when you quit, you just have regret. And we're all guilty. I mean, there's things that I've quit on, and I have regret about it. So, and
I wish I quit on my Dallas Cowboys, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, well, God, yeah, I hear you there.
How loyalty? If anybody ever needs to question my loyalty or loyalness, however you want to word it, look at who my NFL team is.
Oh man. Well, I know, and all we can do is just keep pressing and keep praying, especially for your Cowboys. But they look good. They look good the other night versus the Giants. Woo.
I will say this, and this is God's honest truth. I personally, and my personal opinion only, and me only, believe and feel that somebody in the hierarchy of Dallas is hoping McCarthy screws it up so they can hand the keys to Dan Quinn as the head coach with that
Yeah.
defense. Flip side of that, this is flip side. Dan Quinn has proven he's not he's not as apropos to be a head coach as some others. Like, case in
Mm-hmm.
point, he was the head coach that blew the 28-3 lead, the most infamous loss in NFL history, let alone Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
And after that, Dan Quinn never recovered as a head coach to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about that one, though.
Yep. We'll have to see on that one for sure. So again, just for the listeners, be sure to check out the links below for all of Cory's social media pages. Be sure to follow, like, and comment on his stuff. What I like to do now is kind of the fun part of our show. It's the rapid fire. Are you familiar with rapid fire?
Oh, yeah. Ask anything, I'll give a quick response. You know me.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So we're gonna go live action here. You ready?
So let's do it.
All right. So Apple or Android?
Apple, 100%.
Oatmeal cream pie or Zinger?
Depends on what convenience store I go to Daniel Hill with on 3 o'clock in the morning to get it.
So where are you going? Cream pie or Zinger?
Both, actually.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Got the munchies there. Florida or Florida State?
Florida State, no question.
2 feet in or one?
Depends on what I'm jumping into.
Tom Brady or Lamar?
I might have to say Tom Brady.
I hear you. It's hard. It's hard not to go with the GOAT.
And I'm not saying that because he's the GOAT. I'm saying that because of the determination he's had his whole career in life. Not saying that Lamar hasn't, but
Sure.
Brady was what? Second. I mean, look how far he was in the draft to look where he is. How can you go against that?
Yeah, and Lamar's got to prove himself, right?
He got no reason to, but now he has to. He ain't got a choice.
Starter jacket or champion hoodie?
Starter jacket.
Yeezys or Ultra Boost?
Ultra Boost.
Parliaments or ports?
So, say that again?
Parliaments or ports?
Newports all day. I used to
I hear you. You got to go with the ports.
Newports.
All right. It's 4th and 2. 4 seconds on the clock. Need a touchdown to win. Are you cramming it down the middle or fade to the corner?
Depends on the cornerbacks I'm facing against and who the
Oh no, you just gotta give me a live action answer here. Cram it down the middle or fade to the corner.
How many yards?
4th and 2.
Run it.
Ah, me too, baby. Cram it down the middle. Well, there you have it, folks. Cory, thank you for coming on the show, brother. It's been a blast.
No problem, brother. Appreciate you, Troy.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. And until next time, thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur and You. Thank you for tuning in to The Entrepreneur and You. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. If you found value in today's podcast, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe and leave us a review so other people can find this podcast and gain value from it as well.